The Buschy and Bobo Show, a healthy scratch podcast. Here's your hosts, Kyle Busch and Brian Rager.
Welcome back to episode 14, Buschy and Bobo podcast. Cracking the beers because we're releasing the Kraken today.
Yes, sir.
Because the whole episode is all about the expansion draft. So what we've done, and we don't know each other's lists yet. So Bobo drafted a list, I drafted a list, and it might be totally different. We might have some similarities. But just to go through some of the rules, like we're drafting like we are Seattle, like we're trying to figure out who are we taking from these protected lists because they just came out today. So we took like a solid, 2 hours?
Yeah, well, put it this way. When I came over, because we're recording together in the same studio, in person together, and I'm on my way to Buschy's here, and we're on the phone and he's giving me updates of, hey, this team dropped their list. This team dropped their list.
I felt like Darren Dreger.
It was pretty sweet.
Chris Johnston was the one that was firing out all the lists. No one else was. So, but they all got released at one point, but it was pretty fun to just see, because there are some surprises, but I mean, it would take a second to run down everybody's list and explain why these teams did what they did. The only one that I found very interesting was the Predators. I think for the first time ever, they picked the 4-4-1, which technically means you can protect 8 players and a goalie. They protected only 3 forwards and 5 defensemen, which I thought was like interesting. And then a few teams doing the 4-4-1, like Tampa and Toronto, protecting their top 4D.
Their core, top 4D, top.
Knowing that they're not going to lose, they're going to lose one player. I want to keep my top 4 defensemen. It's hard to find those guys, because if Eric Chernak was available, I'm taking him immediately.
Yeah.
Right away. It's a no-brainer. I'm taking him. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through our list. We're actually going to go through each team, and we're each going to tell you guys who we picked from each team. And at the end of it all, we're going to go through kind of our depth chart, our lines, and just kind of explain why we went the way we did, or even how like the process went, because I know I did my list a little bit differently than Bobo did in terms of I filled mine out almost as quick as I could and then went through and changed things depending on contracts, talent, position, age, a bunch of things like that, where Bobo went through it.
I took my time with it, sort of going through the teams. There were a couple of guys where I saw they were available. I'm like, all right, I'm going to take you, and you. How this is roughly what you're making up from our contract. So how much, what can we do to build around you and make a team and be success? We want to have success,
right. But there's different ways you can build this team.
Yes,
you can build them to be immediately very good.
You could do the Hursty.
We're gonna go through the Hursty. We have a roster called the Hursty. Okay, so stick around for that one because it's bananas. Okay,
where you're going for pretty much trying to make it a win now, but
you can cap out. It's 81 million is the cap. You can spend right up to that if you really wanted to. Seattle could do that, but now Ron Francis, who's the GM, has already said, "Listen, we're gonna go. We value cap space. You don't want to lock yourself into something where after this year, next year, it's not working. You have zero way to change your team. And like there are players out there that have contracts that are pretty cap strapping. They are and it doesn't mean they're bad players, right? There's some guys that are out there that we can explain. Like I know Zinger said, well, the Islanders protected Matt Martin and they exposed Josh Bailey. It makes no sense. And I went, well, it does, because Matt Martin's contract is 1.5 million.
Josh Bailey's
makes $5 million, and it's for the next 3 years. And he had a good year, and it doesn't mean Josh Bailey's a better player than Matt Martin. They're definitely not the same type of player. No. But I think looking at Seattle, it's like, who are you going to take? I mean, I'd probably take Matt Martin to be on my 4th line because he doesn't make that much.
But you're looking at the contract there, the value.
There's a lot more players that are on these unprotected lists that have a contract that's $5 million or more in multiple years, where it's like, it's a little bit risky taking those guys, right? You don't want to take 17 of those guys. You can take a few.
Yeah. You
Right?
you want, because like I said, you want to be competitive. You don't want to necessarily be developing for the first 5 years, but at the same time, like as a fan, not like in this Seattle thing that we did, but as a fan, I don't want to see like another Vegas, like a Vegas 2.0.
Yeah, but you don't want them to be the Atlanta Thrashers.
No.
You don't want them to be, I mean, if you look at the expansion drafts back then, have you ever seen those? How bad the teams were? Where it's like your best player's Ray Ferraro. Like not
Captain
to say
Ray
but,
Ferraro.
Yeah, it was just like, wow. There was no, because the
Damian
lists
Rhodes
were,
is your tendy.
the lists were unbelievable. So now I agree, because the Vegas thing was nuts. And at the time, like I said a few episodes ago, it was fun, but they had a competitive team. Now, and we're also drafting this. There's definitely some trades on the side that Seattle has made with, teams saying, hey, we'll give you a second round pick to not take this guy.
Yeah, obviously we don't know what those are.
I guarantee you there will be those
behind the deal. So we're just going this as face value.
And you know what's kind of interesting is I bet you Seattle's done at least 3 or 4, because you want your picks. And we went through where there was like 4 teams where we're like, who are we going to pick from these guys? Or where it maybe didn't matter as much, where if they said, hey, take this guy, we want to keep him. And you're like, I didn't want him anyway. Yeah, give me your second round pick. Thanks. I'm going to take the guy I wanted anyway. Right. So this is a kind of a game of cat and mouse. So do you think, before we go through our list, non-biased, do you feel like where do you think your roster would end up out of the 32 teams if this was the roster and they played a year? Now, we are going to do that. Yeah. We're going to sim through a season. We have, there's a game on here called Franchise Hockey Manager. We're going to plug it in there, and Bobo might do NHL 21 or something.
I might plug both our teams in. Actually, no, I'll just do one team at a year.
Yeah. And just see a year and see how they do. Where do you think your team would end up out of 32? Like, now, hey, would they make the playoffs?
Yes.
You think your team would make the playoffs?
I think we're making the playoffs.
I think.
Actually, you know what? Looking at my defense, I was gonna go in trying to build for my defense, and I really didn't do that as much. I think we're a competitive team. I think we are a playoff team.
I think mine is probably in the middle, like probably low. It's lower half. I'm building it. Like, I built my team to have flexibility with the salary cap, some expiring contracts, and then some guys where maybe they're not getting the opportunity. I'm trying to find the next William Karlsson. That's what I tried to do. And I think I know who it is, and we'll see. I do have a prediction. So you want to get into this and fire through these lists?
Yeah, we'll sort of go through it afterwards. All right.
And so I have mine written down.
Fun.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to alternate, right? So I'll do Anaheim first. Okay. So from the Anaheim Ducks, Kyle Buschy's Kraken selects Hayden Fleury. Okay. So defenseman, he was picked up actually from Carolina this year. I'm surprised that they exposed him, because he's a younger player, low contract, has some potential, and he can be in my top 6. So that's why I picked him. Who'd you pick?
I actually went the same pick. I went Hayden Fleury.
Okay.
Like I said, 25 years old. Got him for this year, 1.3. Then he's an RFA. Able to play both, like the left and the right D. So he's someone that I saw on my team and saw available there, especially on an Anaheim team where you looked at that was available.
Yeah, I'm not taking Kevin Shattenkirk.
No, I'm not touching Adam Henrique. I'm not touching.
That's one where it all lined up where I went under 25, low cap hit, not a lot of term, lots of potential. I'm taking him.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Because he's a guy that you technically, if you really wanted to, you could flip. And that's something that's going to happen too. You watch, there'll be a couple guys that they'll pick and then they're going to trade. That'll happen too. So this isn't like this is going to be the.
No, it's not. It's not the be all end all here.
Exactly.
Next team, Arizona. Who did I went with Ilya Lyubushkin.
Yes.
Defense, right defense, 27 years old. Same sort of thing. He's not a long contract. He has 1 year, then he's a UFA, 1.35 mil. So
okay. I actually selected Christian Fischer. So this might be an interesting one because he didn't have a good year. And I think that's why he was exposed. And I think in a new situation, it might help him out. Like I said, when we go through our lines, it'll kind of make sense where I have him plugged in. Because like I said, he didn't have a really good season, but I think he'll bounce back because he's still pretty young as well. I think he's only 25. So that's who I went with for the Arizona Coyotes. For Boston, another young guy, another young defenseman. I went with Jeremy Lozon. He was with the Bruins in the second half of the season, or even down the stretch, kind of more playoffs, and he actually played really, really well. And I think he's 24 years old. Lots of potential. It honestly feels like the same pick that I made with Hayden Fleury, but I feel like more people don't know who Jeremy Lozon is. So I think that's my guy where like I'm hoping he turns into Shea Theodore.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Who'd you pick from Boston?
For Boston, I went off the board here. I went to Joona Koppanen, a 23-year-old center left winger.
I've never heard of him.
He's on loan right now. So when I was doing my thing, I'm like trying to type in Google and going to his like hockey DB and looking at his. So it seems like
because I'd have to do that. I don't know who he is.
Yeah,
tell me who he is.
Okay, well, fuck. Like I said, I just picked him and I just Googled him. Koppanen. I'm bringing up his stuff here right beside me. So like I said, he's 23 years old. He's picked in the 5th round in 2016 by Boston. This year, he played split between 3 teams. Ilves over in Europe.
So who's Seattle's farm team? Because he's clearly going to be there.
Yeah, I don't know who their farm team is. Do they have one?
I feel like they do. But I feel like that's a guy that's probably going to start there.
Yeah, like this year, like he played 21 games in Providence this year. He had 6 points. And for Kuvi, whatever team that is in Europe, he had 17 points in 10 games. So just guys that maybe develops. I don't know. Like he's young and not much on his contract either. I think 1 year at 700. Yeah, 1 year, 750,000.
So you're flexible.
So
who'd you take from the trash compactor that is the Buffalo Sabres?
I went with Andrew Ogilvy.
Ogilvy, you mean?
Yeah.
Is it Ogilvy?
Ogilvy, yeah.
Never heard of him.
Another
either.
minor leaguer, center, 26 years old, 750,000.
It's another team where you kind of were like, I don't know who I'm really going to take from this team because they don't have a lot of talent exposed. Because you're not going to take Jeff Skinner, $9 million. I mean, holy smokes, not a chance. So yeah, that's probably a minor league.
Yeah, I did it. Right? I didn't want to go with someone that's on an expiring deal there. I needed to have X amount of contracts.
I just want to say, because we've had 2 in a row where you did more minor league guys. Okay, for everyone listening that's going, well, why aren't you picking? Okay, listen, you have to fill out a team. You can't have just 30 NHLers because it's not going to work. You can only dress 20 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have 10 NHLers sitting on your bench or in the mind. You're going to just piss them off. So you need a good mix of prospects, even farm guys, and your core. Here's your team, right? You pick your depth guy. Well, and we'll go through that. So if anybody's chirping Brian's picks right now, I know I'm joking, but I have a few coming up where you're going to go, who the hell is that?
Yeah, it's you want to have that room where it's a guy where, you know what, maybe he has a year.
Do you want a second line guy playing on the 4th line? Like it's not going to work, or you know what I mean? So So for Buffalo,
for you,
I picked Cody Eakin. Okay, so this is going to be the second time that he's actually been drafted in the expansion draft. Yeah. I think Cody Eakin is one of those guys where I saw like a penalty killer centerman, win your faceoffs, play defensive. You don't have to do anything too crazy. Slightly one of my more veteran guys on the team. He's not making that much money. So I thought, you know what? He's been there before. He was there with Vegas. He knows what it's like. I'm going to maybe slap an A on his jersey for the first year. So I went with Cody Eakin.
I do like that pick. He's a guy that he's a good role player. Like I say, he's not going to be that stud, but he's out there for the PK and whatnot. And I think it's a good. Yeah. Especially from Buffalo.
It's a depth guy. It's a depth guy. Yeah. So I got some value from Buffalo. Look at that.
Calgary. What do you
Calgary.
got?
So this is where I went with more of a, I would say he's a developing prospect / minor league, maybe 7th, 6th defenseman. It's Oliver Kylington. He was highly touted, hasn't really made a big impact yet. Now with Calgary and their depth, a bunch of episodes ago when we went through with Hursty, their top 4 defensemen were pretty locked in and solid there. So he doesn't really have that opportunity to move up. Maybe Seattle is this opportunity where he can kind of, win a top 4 spot or even a top 6 and move up a little bit. So I kind of went with that because of the potential that he possibly may have. So that's why I went with the Flames.
I went with another minor league guy, Matthew Phillips, a centerman there. He is an RFA. He is an RFA here, 23 years old. Stockton this past year, 21 points in 30 games.
It's pretty good.
He was a -10, but
who knows if Stockton was any good though?
Like, I
do you know how they?
Fuck no.
Do you know where Stockton is? I don't.
No, I'm trying to think. Like just.
Yeah, it's in the American Midwest.
Yeah. Sure.
Probably.
No, but just like another guy, like would they Seattle resign depending on what it looks at, but he's a guy that I have like as a minor leaguer, maybe develop, who knows.
Okay. I think who's the next one? Is it Carolina?
It should be Carolina.
The Hurricanes?
Right? Yes.
Yes, Carolina Hurricanes.
Hurricanes.
Go ahead.
Who did I go with? Another minor leaguer.
You guys have a minor league team? You have any talent?
Yeah. No, we were getting to some talent.
Get there. Okay.
No,
so you take.
I took Morgan Geekie.
Okay, I'm going to say I also took Morgan Geekie, and I'm going to disagree with you that he's minor league. I think
that's what it says on Cap Friendly. So
I think this kid is going to be like really good. I think you give him a few years and you give him an opportunity. That's why I took him, because he's 22 years old?
22 years old. You could center right wing according to Cap Friendly. $750,000 this upcoming year. Then he's an RFA. So
I really liked it. I flip-flopped with I actually was considering Nino Niederreiter. I considered there's a defenseman maybe I was looking at too. But and then looking at him, I went, you know what though? Like, this gives me some cap flexibility. It allowed me to, when I had Niederreiter to start, and he makes about $5 million, and I went, if I take Geekie, that means I can grab someone else that's making a little more, and we're going to get to that eventually, because I have a surprising one, I think. But okay, so I went with Geekie.
Yeah, so like I said, I think that's one where you got that flexibility there, and it's
So now from Chicago, now there is a rule that states that you have to pick at least 20 players under contract. So technically you can take players that are unrestricted or restricted going into this offseason. Now, if you take an unrestricted free agent, for example, Alex Ovechkin was exposed. If you take Alex Ovechkin, there's no chance he's signing with Seattle. He's going to Washington or he's going to KHL. Okay. Freaking mosquito in here. So if you're going to take an unrestricted guy, it's kind of pointless, because you only have like 5 days to negotiate with the guy, and he's going to go, I'm going to play for an expansion team. I'm going to go somewhere else. Right. So you have to be really, really careful with that. Now, restricted free agents, on the other hand, like this guy that I'm going to say, they would be under Seattle's control. They have negotiating rights with these players. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I picked Nikita Zadorov. Okay. Hard-nosed defenseman, hits like a truck. I mean, he would be perfect for an expansion team in terms of like being exciting, being physical. He's a big dude. He's been around a little bit with Colorado, with Chicago. And then, he started with Buffalo, right? So he's been around a bit, but I just went for the size and I went for that back end. So that is something also where being under I think my team is like 24 million under the cap. I'd have to sign Zadorov, so it would probably be, I'd say probably $3.5 million I'd give him. So add to that. So that's who I went with Chicago. Who'd you go with?
I went with a UFA from Chicago. It's going to be an upcoming UFA here. Anton Lindholm, minor leaguer, 26 years old.
But what if he just walks?
Then Chicago is one where like,
see, because I always would go like, if not the chirpy pick, but I'd be like, I would go with a restricted guy, because then at least you can keep him. Like, you're not wasting your pick, right?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how I look at it. Unless you're taking a UFA that is going to sign, we're getting the one that is UFA that is rumored to be going to Seattle no matter what. But okay, next team would be the Colorado Avalanche. Who'd you take from Colorado? There was a lot of choices for the Avalanche.
I went very big. I'm under the impression that we're going to be signing them. I went Landeskog.
There is no chance that they are going to take in. There's zero chance. I don't understand why you would do that. Because he's going to walk, and you just lost a ton of talent. Like who I took JT Compher. Okay. He's going to be on my top 6. He's going to probably play in the middle. Because one thing that I was saying to Brian through this whole process is there's not a lot of centermen under decent deals that would be a number 1 or 2 guy. JT Compher on the Avalanche is a number 2 guy, probably. On this team, he can play on the top, especially when you find out who his wingers are. So that's where I went with. I'm disappointed in you for taking Landeskog, because he's not signing with Seattle.
I have $26 million in cap space.
Well, what are you going to do? Sign him 10 years to 10?
I'm going to give him a stupid contract.
Like, but he can get that from anywhere else. Why would he go to an expansion team?
Because we're going to be sick.
I don't know, man. I think you mortgaged your team here. And
that's sort of the thing. Like, with a lot of this, it's like, all right, you know what? It's a win now.
You're rolling the dice here, because you're doing both things. You got like a bunch of these like minor league guys, and then you're taking a swing for the fences. Which way are you going here, bud?
I'm taking that swing, but then if, like I said, if something doesn't work out, then
fucking making me drink.
Fuck, I try.
JT Compher is going to be a top 6 scorer on the Seattle Kraken.
Compher's is. I'm not going to chirp that, but you can chirp mine.
Okay.
But that Compher's a good.
From the Columbus Blue Jackets, there wasn't a lot here. Now, Hursty, Max Domi. Max Domi stinks, okay? I mean, he's been around, and I mean, if you look at how the trade tree went, maybe we can do that with Max Domi. How the Blue Jackets just like
why not
have nothing left, because it was Josh Anderson, but they also got Josh Anderson for someone. We'll have to look at that. That's something I think I'll write down. Here, I'm going to write it down. The Max Domi trade tree. Because it's interesting to see that if he got claimed by Seattle and for nothing, what Columbus gave up to get him is pretty incredible to see like how bad it is. Okay.
That being said,
Columbus Blue Jackets. I picked Kevin Stenlund. Do you know who Kevin Stenlund is? Okay. He's going to be on my 4th line. He's a grit guy. The last 2 seasons in Columbus, he's played 30 games. He's at about 15 points. Okay. And he's actually a Swedish guy. Sick flow. So, I mean, we got to have that. But I think he's a guy that I can plug in on the 4th line. I think on my depth chart, I think I have Geeky slightly ahead of him on the 4th line, but I think they're pretty interchangeable depending on what you want. Because Geeky's more of a skill guy. I think Stenlund is going to be more like the bigger, kind of a grit guy. So I went with him because there wasn't a lot to really pick from the Blue Jackets, if I'm really frankly honest with you.
And I know you just tripped a bunch. I did go with Domi.
You went with Domi. Yeah.
So I'm because after I'm like, all right, Landeskog, then I'm like, all right.
Have you looked at Max Domi's stats over the past few years?
I think him getting out of.
They've said that about the past 2, about Arizona and Montreal. So, I mean, what's going to change now? Now you're going to go to a team that's even worse.
I don't know. I feel like he's going to be he's 26, right? But
late bloomer, dude. He was actually like decent in his first few years.
I feel like it's going to be a resurgence in Seattle with him.
I mean, there's another. You're swinging for the fences.
Exactly.
I mean, you're going to strike out, in my opinion.
I went more aggressive, and it's showing.
I'm getting Brian all flustered now. He's like, "Oh shit, did I do the right thing?"
Nah. Wait till we get the sim in. It's gonna be sick.
Man. Okay, Dallas. Yeah, because it's gonna get crazy. Dallas. Okay, is it you or me?
I think it's me. Yeah.
Okay, go with Dallas Stars. You take.
I went with defenseman Julius Honka.
Okay, I'm also gonna chirp that because he's never coming back to the NHL.
Fuck me then.
I'd Google him real quick. Maybe you can just redo it.
Stupid. What the fuck? Now it just.
Here's the thing. Julius Honka was someone that Dallas actually. Now he was a good prospect for the Stars. Oh, he's fallen. Now I'll give you.
Fuck.
What?
It may have lost my.
It's all good. You pull it. We have the whole thing up here.
That's true.
Where he and you know who you picked. There you go. You're good.
There we go. We're good.
He had a falling out with the Stars, and I think that's why he went back overseas. So I think he's technically a restricted free agent. So if you want to go, hey, Julius, we're gonna give you a top 6 role in Seattle, then it's a good pick. If you don't have him in your top 6, he's not coming over.
I'm pretty sure I do.
Do you? Okay. So then if you sign him, you'd have to sign him. So it's another thing where you got to kind of swing for it, right? Now, you probably didn't know that about Julius Honka.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he was, because he fell out of favor in Dallas, and it was just like people were passing on a depth chart, and I think he went back to Finland. But
he's 25 years old, so I'm like, all right, you know what? If he can get out of
I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying it's kind of like you're going to have to convince him to come.
It's that big swing. Big
swing, man. And he could turn into something. Never know. I actually went with someone older. This is the oldest player on my roster. It's Blake Como. Okay. 35 years old. He's only making, I think, $1.5 million. And I want that veteran presence. He's on my 3rd, 4th line. He's on the wing. I think that's someone that you would want in your locker room. And looking at Dallas and just the way that I'm building my team, I wanted someone that was a veteran that wasn't making that much, that's still pretty effective. And it just felt right where I want, you know what? I'm going to plug him in on the bottom 2 lines. And I mean, he can still go out there and kill a penalty here and there. I mean, dude, just don't be stupid and just play your game. That's all I want from Blake Como. Now, moving on to my Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah, there you go.
So I actually think it's kind of in my opinion, I think it's a no-brainer for Seattle to pick Troy Stecher. he had a really good year. Now, interestingly enough, I think he had a good year. He's making 1.7 mil this year, which is, I think, a bargain. And even when Yzerman signed him, I think it was a bargain. He was inexplicably healthy scratched a little bit this year, where I didn't really understand it. I mean, there was a lot of movement and stuff like that with these teams. I don't know what happened, if he's fallen out of favor there, but I think what they did is they wanted to protect Gustav Lindstrom, who's 22, and maybe I don't see the potential with that guy though. I'd rather keep Stetcher for right now and maybe trade him at the deadline and get something for him. The only other guy I was really looking at that maybe I could have taken was Cholowski, but I mean, I was looking for someone that can be on my fourth or my second pair, like a fourth defenseman, and play power play if I need him to, and be more offensive. So I went with Troy Stetcher for Detroit.
I went the same guy, Stetcher. I think
okay.
When we were talking about even beforehand, it's like, all right, he's on a Detroit team where there's not much to really choose from. He's the one that, like I said, he's going to be able to fit into a team, an expansion team, have that role. And
who else would you take from their team that you even considered? Did you consider anybody else, or did you just kind of go, you know what, this is what it is?
After looking at, I'm just going to look quickly at their protected players.
The only other ones, like I said, Cholowski, Nemesnikov, Svechnikov, maybe. They actually protected Giovanni Smith, which I think is kind of a cool thing that's not being talked about, is he's going to be on this team next year. He's going to be a fourth liner.
I was looking possibly at Christian Juice.
Juice, actually, you know what? He's going over overseas too.
But I'm like,
I think he already signed
an RFA. I said, no, what? Nah.
Yeah, I think he already left. So anyway,
Taro
so
Hirose, I saw too. And I'm like, but
yeah, I don't think he's gonna
be anything special.
He'd be like a minor leaguer. Who'd you take from the Edmonton Oilers?
I took Kyle Turris.
Okay. That's cool because he's on a low contract. He's making 1.6, if I'm not mistaken. One more year.
1.6 mil. 1 more year. For me, I have him, I think, plugged in as my third line center.
Okay. I feel like on my team, he'd be like top 2, but it's weird how he fell out of favor pretty quick. Like Nashville, I mean, he signed this big deal and got bought out and then went to Edmonton, and like it's not really working out there for him. But
so I think that's, again, Kyle Turris is going to be my one pick that you actually respect.
For now, yeah.
Aside from
you probably have some more. I just said there's a few, yeah. So I actually went. Let me double check here. I went with real deal James Neal.
Hey.
So another guy. There'll be a second time he'll be picked by an expansion team. I think for some reason he's undervalued in this league. I don't get it. He scores, man. Like he's gonna get you 20 goals.
I think for him, he doesn't have the sexy plays, right?
I don't care.
Oh, I know, but that's why I think he's not that big. Oh, sexy play market. No,
he's just gonna shoot and score.
As long as he puts the puck in the net. That's
the first guy that I have to score some goals, be on basically on my top line, be on the top power play, eat some minutes. I mean, good. I need some points. I need some goals from James Neal. So that's who I went with there. Now, when we move on here to the next team, we got the Florida Panthers. We both, I think, have the same pick. Yeah. Now, this is only because we've been hearing a ton of stuff, and it's been reported that Chris Driedger is actually going to sign with Seattle, therefore making him Seattle's pick automatically. So he is actually an unrestricted free agent. And he's someone that's like, I think he's 27 years old, and he can come in and be a starter or a 1A, 1B type thing. On my team, I think it's going to be a 1A, 1B type situation, and just see, like, cream rises to the top, see who it is. So I have Driedger. You have Driedger as well, right?
Yeah, we both went with him. So that's something we sort of talked about at the beginning too, right? Because we're like, all right,
what do we want to do
with the rumors here?
In looking at Florida as well, the only other guy that I was slightly considering was Marcus Nudavara on defense. But then looking at my team, I don't really need him. And looking at a lot of the goalies, there wasn't a ton where I kind of went, well, this is kind of a slam dunk. I mean, there's some guys out there.
There's big names out there.
And Jonathan Quick and Holtby and all these guys. But their contracts just don't add up for what I want to do with that team. So we both went with Driedger. So he's probably only going to sign for $3 million, $4 million, maybe.
Probably something like that.
Okay. LA Kings. Who did you pick?
LA. I went with Olli Määttä.
I also went with Olli Määttä.
26, 3.3 mil for a year.
And he's bounced around. He's been with LA. He's been with Pittsburgh. He's been with where else was he? Chicago. So he's bounced around a little bit as well. Trying to find his game
trying to find
too.
His home.
But I think I'm penciled him in as a I think I have him with Stetcher. A little more defensive, a little more offensive, a little mix there. Because I think Olimato was supposed to be an offensive defenseman. He's really not. I think he's more of a two-way defensive type guy now. He has to change his game into doing that, right?
The game, it changes, so you got to change and adapt to it.
Exactly. Okay, Minnesota, I'm going with another goalie, young goalie, Kaapo Kähkönen. So he's 24 years old. Is that who you went with?
I went with him as well.
Perfect. Okay, so we both went with Kähkönen. He's 24 years old. The nice thing about him is he's still waiver exempt. And that's a big reason why I picked him, is I can put him in the minors if I want to. Because my other goalie, I mean, he's probably going to be there over Kähkönen. But it's someone where you can have him, move a guy, you have some talent there. Maybe one of the goalies I draft, maybe my backup guy maybe I'll flip him because he has a lot of value, and somewhere I would flip him to would be Detroit. But that's who we both went with, Kaapo Kähkönen. So
couple picks there. We're just like, all right, let's go.
Listen up, Lou. Here's who Montreal's getting shafted for. Who's getting taken from the Habs?
I took Cale Fleury.
I also took Cale Fleury.
Fuck off. That's in a row now. Let's go.
He's going Cale Fleury because he's like 22.
He's 22.
And
he is an RFA,
also his brother's there too. Let's keep them together. He's a prospect. Yeah. And the only other player, again, that you can really look at on Montreal would be maybe Paul Byron. But I already have my Paul Byron. I mean, and I know he's not as good, but Blake Como for me is my older guy that's going to play on my third or fourth line. Paul Byron's the same thing. I think Paul Byron's a better player. I like Como's contract better. Okay. So they're definitely interchangeable. If I didn't pick Como, I probably would have taken a younger defenseman from Dallas, probably not Julius Honka, but something like that. And I would have went with Byron, right? But he's making $2 million more. That's flexibility that I wanted to keep. So we both went with that. Yeah. Okay, let's see if we can make this another one, okay?
Well, we're not.
Nashville Predators, okay? I went with Rocco Grimaldi, okay? Small guy, but he, in the last year and a half, every time I hear or watch them play, he's always around the puck. He seems like he's getting to the point now where, like, when he was with Florida, he really wasn't doing anything. Now with Nashville, he's actually been pretty decent, and I like the way he plays. Another guy that I can put maybe third line, where he's maybe more of a scoring role, right? I can throw him on a power play if I want, second power play. I like his energy. I like that he can move. He's quick. He's fast. So I went with Rocco Grimaldi, and also very manageable cap hit.
It's I made some big swings.
Making a big swing here. Who'd you go with?
Johansson.
Ryan Johansson. Wow. Now I will say, to be honest with you, I was thinking about it, but because I wanted a top centerman,
he's going to be my top center.
That contract scares me big time.
4 years. Yeah. 4 years at $8 million.
Right. But he's 28.
He's 28. So he'll be 32. So he's still in his prime there. Maybe at the,
right.
Going to be at the tail end of the prime. After 2 years, maybe you look, depending on where the team's at, you look. But
yeah. Does he have no movement or no trade?
Nope.
He's okay. Nope. So you can move him.
So
but $8 million
at $8 million. Yeah. That
scares me a bit.
It did scare me. I'd
rather have him than Matt Duchene.
But yeah,
I think
I went with, as I said, that's considering I've tried to make like some big plays. Like, okay, I'm going to try to sign Landeskog. If I'm going to have Landeskog doesn't, I want to have him at that top centerman. Right. So, and that's definitely not Max Domi. So,
right. Who'd you go with from the New Jersey Devils?
Let me go down here. I went with Will Butcher.
I also went with Will Butcher.
26, $3.73 million.
Yeah, he's going to be, I think, on my top pair. We got to look at that. I think he's on my top pair. Puck moving defenseman. You can be a quarterback power play, more offensive guy. Like I said, I liked his cap hit as well.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is I haven't really looked at how far is he signed? Is
he's
he got
only
a couple more years or 1 year, and then you can re-sign him if you want.
So
okay. So that's another one where you're taking a little bit of a risk, and another thing that's interesting, depends how your season's going. That's a guy that if you aren't doing too well and you want to trade him at the deadline, he's a guy that's going to have value. You can get a second or third round pick for him, I think. So yeah, Butcher, I think that's a good pick. From the New York Islanders, I went with a prospect. I was toying with the idea of maybe Josh Bailey. I didn't like the contract. I went with Kiefer Bellows.
Okay.
He's 23 years old, Brian Bellows' son, and he's someone that I can still maybe put in my minor league system, let him kind of marinate a little bit, see how it goes, because, I mean, he's young, and there wasn't anybody on the Islanders that I like I said, I don't want Josh Bailey as good as he is. I don't like his contract.
You don't want that. You don't want Eberle. You don't want
Eberle too. I just scared me away because the way that I built my team is I will have James Neal's making some money.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want James Neal? You want Jordan Eberle? It's a coin flip, man. And like, I just found that was a little bit more of a palpable contract and someone that has been through the expansion process. Right. So I went, I'll go with him. So
Kiefer Bellows.
Who'd you go with?
No, I do like the way that you're building your team. Kiefer Bellows is a great pick for that. I did go with Josh Bailey.
Did you?
Just because I am in that more of a win now or in the next year or two.
Okay. I'm seeing that you're trying to like be really good right away.
Yeah, I want to be good, but I'm still taking a few players.
And we'll try and look and see, like, if you look forward, maybe you might be better than my team this year. I don't know, but then
moving forward,
who knows,
like,
right?
Say, 3-4 years.
Because are you locked in? You're locked in with some guys here. Because you're assuming that you're going to lock in Landeskog. You locked in on Bailey. You're locked in on Johansson. Like, these are contracts where I'm looking at them like, ooh, I don't know
Bailey,
if I want
got
those.
For 3 years and then.
Right. Okay, fair enough.
But that's wrong with the Rangers. This is a team I absolutely hated going through. They were, I think, my last team. I was looking at fucking what's his face there, defenseman.
Potato?
No, first guy. And
D'Angelo.
But I'm like, why would I take him? Because considering
he's making $4.5 million.
He's making $4.5. He's went through waivers like 30 billion times this past year. So I don't even know who. I went with Julian Gauthier.
Me too. Who knows who he is?
23 years old,
moving on.
100,000. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
We have no idea who this guy is, but he's going to be in the minors.
Yeah, he's.
There's honestly, if you go look at the Rangers, there's nobody you can pick. There really isn't anybody.
I think look up his stats.
Unless the only other guy would maybe be Keith Kincaid. If you wanted to go with a backup goalie, you could have went Keith Kincaid if you really wanted to. But I already had my goalies.
Yeah, I think I already had my goalies, or I like the age of my goalies. So.
Right. Ottawa Senators, also not a ton to pick from. You're seeing a theme here with some of the teams that aren't as good. There's not really any guys that are left unprotected. But a guy that I thought I'd take a flyer on is Chris Tierney. Is that who you went with? Chris Tierney. Okay. As well. Because it's someone that I think you can put on your third pair centerman or third line center. If he needs to play second line, maybe it's an opportunity. I just thought that was the best fit. You're ranking some of those players on the Senators. They didn't really have anybody in net. They didn't really have anybody. I'm not taking Matt Murray.
No,
there was no defenseman really.
No, they
it was like Josh Brown or something. I don't even know who that is. And I mean, up front, there wasn't a ton. There was like Evgeny Dadonov, but I kind of thought Chris Tierney, again, trying to grab a centerman was a little bit tough for me going through this.
Tierney on the 1-year deal too, right? So it's not like 27 years old. So I think he's a good guy to I think I have him plugged in on third line, I believe. Like when I did my lines, I was just trying to do it really quickly.
Right.
Now, so I probably would make adjustments on him, but
now we're going to the Philadelphia Flyers, and here's where I went bananas. And I took Jacob Voracek.
Oh.
They left him unprotected, and I'm kind of wondering why. Maybe they're gambling that no one's going to want that contract. I don't think it's that bad. He's got a few more years left at $8 million. And the guy was a top scorer for a while. Maybe I'm dating myself here, but he's going to be on my top line with Neal and Comfer. I'll take him, sure.
Yeah, and it's something.
I'm not taking JVR. I before they put these lists out, I went, do I take Van Riemsdyk? But then I'm like, dude, I can pay $1 million more for Voracek. I'm taking him.
And it's something where, especially what I've when we've been going so far, you don't have any of those bigger contracts. So why not take
that's my first big one other than James Neal.
Yeah.
I think he's my most expensive guy is Voracek.
Okay.
So that's the guy that I took a swing with.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I think that's
so who'd you go with?
I went with Robert Hagg.
Okay.
Defense is 26 years old, 1.6 this year, and then he's UFA.
Okay. Team Sweden, U17s, 2012. Yeah. Okay. So he's a nice depth piece for you there on defense,
depth
right?
on there for me.
Okay. Pittsburgh Penguins. Okay. Weirdly, I have no idea why they protected Jeff Carter like anybody would want him.
Yeah. When we were looking through
really
the list
bizarre,
and you said Jeff Carter, I'm like, okay, what is this, 2008?
Really weird. Yeah. I thought that was an odd way to. But anyway, they must value him more than anybody else does. But I'm not taking Jeff Carter. No. Maybe it's because his contract was palpable.
What is his contract?
It's like 1.6. You know what I mean? It's not bad.
I went with another defenseman here. I went with Mark Friedman.
Mark Friedman. Okay. So I don't know a ton about him. I know he's newer to the NHL, right?
Yeah. I Googled his stats and all that, and I'm like, all right, for like my oldest defenseman is 27 years old. And I think that's going to be the one thing, like when I do the sim, that's going to be the thing that screws me.
Yeah, his defense depth
is going to be my defense depth.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of guys that like no bona fide number one defenseman.
Yeah.
Or
but
I feel like he'll be able to plug in there. And
yeah, I actually went with Jason Zucker, and that's the guy that I kind of went, why is he exposed? Because Jeff Carter should have been the one exposed. I went with Jason Zucker. I think that's kind of a no-brainer. He's going to be on my second line. If I want to split up Neil and Voracek, I can put Zucker up there, more of a playmaker, right? I love that guy's game, and I just was like, I don't understand why they're exposing him. He's making $5 million. It's nothing for me to really bat an eye at, because I think that's actually a player that's playing to his value, where I can easily look at that and go, yeah, I would sign him to 5 now, right?
And you got that, like with everything so far, you have the room on your.
Yeah, if he was unrestricted and Detroit signed him to a $5 million contract for the next 3 years, I'd be like, hell yeah, I'll take him for sure, right? San Jose, this is another tough one. I just picked a minor league player, Matt Nieto. He's 28 years old. He's going to play on the minor league team. He's just some depth. San Jose didn't have anybody to pick, honestly.
Jacob Middleton, next.
Never heard of him. Okay, next.
Minor leaguer, right?
You got
St. Louis.
St. Louis, okay. Who are you going
and
with?
Because I'm going the swings, I went with Tarasenko.
Jesus. Okay. I mean, so your
team,
line, if they're bad, you're screwed.
Then I'm fired.
You're fired immediately. Yeah. Because you have a lot of that, like, where you have a lot of guys that are got some term on there.
I'm going.
Does it
right away?
Doesn't it kind of make you a little bit wary that Tarasenko, his whole shoulder is held together by paper mache?
He's good.
He's had 2 shoulder surgeries.
He's going to be okay.
I don't know, man. They tried to trade him to a team. Now, here's the reason why I don't think he's getting picked. They tried to trade him to other teams, and nobody wanted him because they have to give something up for him. And his cap hit is so high that sometimes you can't just take a guy for free. That's why you see a lot of these guys on waivers with contracts go unclaimed.
Yeah.
Because you're adding a contract, you can only have 50, and then you're adding cap, you're not getting rid of it. So that's what scared me away from Tarasenko. And I went, if I'm going to go with a scorer, I'll go with Voracek.
Yeah, and I get that. I'm going because I'm trying to win.
It would be easy to flip-flop those. But the reason that, and another big reason that I didn't take Tarasenko is because I think you have to take Vince Dunn. You have to take Vince Dunn. He's 24 years old. He's left unprotected. St. Louis was in a weird position where I don't think they could do the 4-4-1, because then I'm just going to take Barbashev, or I'm going to take one of their younger guys like Kyrou or Robert Thomas or something.
Yeah.
But Vince Dunn is going to be, I want him to be my Shea Theodore as well. Like, I think he's going to be one of those guys that's going to get an opportunity to really show how good he is. And it was something where, again, I was really hoping Detroit would make a trade for him and go, I'm taking him, instead of St. Louis losing him for nothing. So that's who I went with, because I think Vince Dunn's going to be a top defenseman on my team. Tampa Bay, I'm going with Cal Foote.
Same.
Because he's a prospect. He's a defenseman. He's young. First round pick. Actually son of Adam Foote. And looking at Tampa Bay, they went 4-4-1 as well. And they did expose Andre Palat, Alex Killorn. I didn't want those guys for how much they were getting paid. Like a guy like Killorn and Palat, like you're paying a lot of money for those guys that are probably past what they're ever going to do. I think I'm scared away from Palat because I think he is definitely a part of that line that is just incredible, right? With was it Kucherov and who am I looking at? I'm missing a guy. It's Kucherov, Palat. It used to be Johnson. We don't know.
No,
I don't know. There's another guy on there, but anyway, he's a part of that line where it's just like they're incredible. Is it Stamkos? No, it's not Stamkos. Look up their roster right now. I'm drawing a blank. Is it Sorelli? Who's on that line? Daily Face-Off. Go Daily Face-Off. See what their top line or their top 2 lines are.
The only thing with Foote is that he's an RFA, but
I'm going to sign him.
You're going to get him back. You're going to get him at a good contract.
Right. What do we got for daily faceoff?
Kucherov, Palat, Braden Point.
What an idiot. Yeah, Braden Point. That line is incredible. I think you take Palat and put him somewhere else. He's not going to be effective. He's not going to be as effective. Same. Yeah, I think that's part of and now they'll say, I know I heard Braden Point saying, like, if you take him away from our line, it's like, dude, plug me in there. You know what I mean? We'll be fine. Here you go, Cooch. Score.
You already passed your prime. You said that the other day.
I know. But anyway, next.
Cal Foot, you said that was, I think, we both made that was pretty much when I was in Tampa. No problem. No.
Yep.
Toronto. I went with Travis Dermott.
Okay. That's interesting because he is a young defenseman as well, but he is an NHL defenseman, right? So
and he got him at 2 years at 1.5, and then he's an RFA.
So I would assume he's on your second pair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I went with Alex Kerfoot. I think a lot of people assume that someone, that Seattle is going to take Kerfoot. I think Dermott's the only other option there. Looking at their team, Kerfoot's a guy that I know Lou hates. Main reason why I picked him. And he's going to be on my second line. He's going to be on second line center. If there's one thing that I feel like Seattle as my team that I would look for in free agency is I would look for a second line center or something like that. Maybe you don't need it this year, but that's definitely where I look at my team. That is the biggest need when I look at my squad and when we break down the depth charts. So that's who I went with. Vancouver. I went with Jake Virtanen, and I know the kid's been in some trouble here, and he's not living up to his name, and he was a top 15 draft pick or something, and he's never really panned out. I'm going to take a flyer on him. If he doesn't work out, he doesn't work out, but the risk reward of taking him was better than taking anyone else on that unprotected list, I think. So now you're the Canucks fan. You tell me.
Yeah, so I went with Virtanen as well. Like I said, the fact that he's still only 24 years old, I think, if you know what, he hasn't found it in Vancouver.
Well, if he figures it out, right? That's kind of what I'm hoping. Exactly. Like, he figured it out. He's finally okay.
The only other guy that I was looking at on Vancouver was possibly taking Braden Holtby. But I couldn't.
Like, who are you playing? If you're going to have Dreger, right? And then did you say your other goalie yet?
Well, I got what's his face from Minnesota there.
Oh, Kokkonen. Yeah, okay. So, but you didn't say. Did you take three goalies?
Yeah, I took.
You didn't take your third. You didn't say your third one yet. Yeah, neither did I. So we might have the same one.
Probably.
Yeah.
But it's something where I'm like, you know what, Virtanen, 24. I still think that he can do it. He could do something. I think the change in scenery is sometimes the one thing that you need.
So
these younger guys.
Washington Capitals. This is where I'm assuming your third goalie is.
Yep.
Am I right?
Yep.
Okay. Vitek Vanacek.
Yep.
That's who I took as well. This is the guy that I thought they could flip. If I'm the Red Wings, maybe I look at that, right? Or a team that needs a goalie. Maybe it's something where they go, hey, give us a second round and a third round pick and we'll give them to you. I don't know. I would think about it. It's something to add draft capital, but a 25-year-old goalie played pretty well this year and he wasn't even supposed to be there. Like Lundqvist and Samsonov were supposed to be the guys.
Yeah.
And then Lundqvist had that heart thing, unfortunately. And so they were both there. And I mean, they traded for Craig Anderson to be that veteran guy. Oh, they signed him. Yeah, you're right. They signed him. But I think that's a guy that obviously they drafted Samsonov. Did they draft Vanacek? Maybe. I'd never heard of him before this year.
I was looking at Phoenix Copley, possibly, but
Michigan Tech Huskies. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, saw him play there.
Said you got him at 1 year still as well. But then he's a UFA and he's making a 1-point run right now at 29. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to take I'll take the younger goalie and go from there.
Right. And the last team is the Winnipeg Jets. And this is where I think I found my William Karlsson. And I think it's Mason Appleton.
I took him too.
I think Mason Appleton is going to be incredible with Seattle. I think that's the guy they take. The only other guy that I considered was Dylan DeMello on defense. But at the same time, I think there's a lot more talent to be had on defense throughout these unprotected lists. I don't know if you kind of saw that as well. What do you think? There's more defense talent probably?
Yeah. Like I said, I have a young defensive team. I don't have necessarily a bona fide defensive star, but there was a lot more.
It's hard to find those forward prospects, or I want to say prospects, but are guys that maybe you can identify.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like William Karlsson, when he was with Columbus, he was like third or fourth line. He didn't get the opportunities. And then he immediately was on like the top line in Vegas and he got 41 goals.
Yeah.
Now, is Mason Appleton going to do that? Probably not. But like, I would like to see if he could get me 25 Genos.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of nice.
Yeah. So I wanted that. The only, that I was looking at possibly at Laurent Brassard, but after going over Washington, I'm like, all right, this is where best for me. So
yeah, exactly. So I want to look at the protected lists here that we have, or sorry. Now this is actually my lines. Okay.
Yeah,
so if you guys can see this, let me make this a little bit bigger here. Okay. Let's zoom in a bit. So on my top line, I don't know why I just did that, but I have James Neal with JT Compher and Jakub Voracek. So I think pretty solid top line, but I think you can see I do need a top center.
Yeah.
Okay. These guys are arguably just second line guys, right? Tierney's a third line, Eakin's fourth. But I got Mason Appleton playing with Kerfoot and Zucker. Now, it's a smaller line, but it's more of a skilled line, okay? Like I said, you can move Voracek and Zucker up and down if you want. You can put Appleton up here with Compher and Voracek. That sounds actually pretty good. Actually might do that. Neal, Kerfoot, Zucker. Yeah, you know what? That's actually what I'll do. Let's do that. Appleton.
It's already pre-populated.
Yeah, well, you can just relax about it. I like typing it in to make sure. Third line, I've got Grimaldi with Tierney and Fisher. Again, a lot of these guys can move up and down. I don't think I'd move Grimaldi to the fourth line, but I think third line is probably pretty good. You get an injury, moves up. And then you got Como, Eakin, and Geeky. And then you got Virtanen and Stenlund that are kind of looking to get into the lineup. Now on defense, you got Will Butcher and Vince Dunn. Again, two younger guys. I think Dunn's going to be really good. Mata and Stetcher. Zadorov with Hayden Fleury, and then Kylington and Lozon. So those are the guys knocking on the door. I think what I've done here with even my forwards, defense, and goalie with Drager, Vanacek, and Kakinen, I think, because here's our minors, like Nieto, Bellows, Foote, Gauthier, and the other Fleury.
Yeah.
I think I've created, like, in my opinion, like a good, healthy competition where I'm not just giving guys roster spots, especially at the bottom of the lineup. I'm not.
Yeah, that bottom six is.
Well, like it's just looking at it and looking at Como, Eakin. I mean, those guys are defensive forwards, right?
Yeah.
Tierney and Tierney is as well, but like Tierney, Fisher, they have that kind of two-way capability. That's why I looked at them. And I hope Fisher actually would score some more goals. I hope Geeky turns into a top 9 forward or a top 6, maybe. Yeah. Virtanen took a flyer on him. Stenlund, he's a fourth line guy, but that's why I took him, right? With the defense, I think that's a lot of good puck moving defensemen. I think, like I said, Zadorov being the big guy that can hit, Mata being maybe more of a two-way, Butcher, Dunn, Stetcher, more offensive. Hayden Fleury, I mean, again, more offensive. Maybe would be a little bit higher. I just kind of threw those together.
Yeah.
And again, like Kylington and Lozon, they're younger guys waiting for an opportunity. So that's kind of what I went with. I know you just saw that crazy one there, but here's
and I just try to throw this quickly when right before we went on. So I don't even so that top line.
I mean, this is what we're gonna do here. We're gonna change this
with Geeky.
Oh yeah, we're gonna put Geeky there. Whoops, that Gauthier guy. You don't even know who he is. You had him in your lineup,
and you just got rid of my other guy. I just had whoever I had there.
Who was that?
I don't know.
Oh, let's just press undo.
Undo it again.
There wasn't an undo.
Well, why would I have Geeky there?
I don't know.
14 forwards. Guy from the Rangers.
It's Gauthier. I don't. Who cares? Anyways, he's not even playing. Yeah. Whatever. Okay, I'm gonna look at yours and break this down. Okay.
Go right ahead.
Yikes. Yeah. So okay, you're assuming Landeskog signs. If he doesn't sign, you're boned. You're boned. Johansson, okay, fine. Tarasenko, fine. So I've done that. Like Tarasenko, that's my Voracek.
Yeah.
Johansson, that's kind of my James Neal, right?
Yeah.
Bailey is basically my Jason Zucker, right?
Yep.
Now, Domi scares me.
I know you don't like him as a...
Maybe you move these guys around, like Tierney even on your fourth line. Like you have way more depth at center than I do. I just don't like Domi. I just don't think he's the guy. I think Appleton is probably supposed to be here. This is weird because these guys, we don't know, right? So what I would do if I were you is I would probably even like here.
Yeah.
Like Philly or Pittsburgh, try to grab a guy that could play on that left side. Maybe that's just my opinion. We have the exact same goalies, so we don't have to go over that. But our defense is probably pretty similar. I mean, like Foote for me is more of a.
I I'm throwing him right in.
Yeah,
right in
you're
the
putting him
fire.
right in. You're throwing in the fire.
I'm throwing him in the fire,
So-
signing him, and you're giving her.
And that's fine. Like we have a lot of the same guys. Like literally, those four we
They're the
have,
same, yeah.
right? So it's interesting. It's cool how we had a lot of the same ones, but a lot of differences too, in the way that we
approached it totally differently. But during, like you said, even though we approached it differently,
yeah, you get what you
similar
got,
picks.
right? This one, I bet you if you redo that, you can take like a JT Compher, or you could take
okay. Say I take
someone.
Say I take him out and put Compher in there. Yeah,
it's still good.
Yeah.
I think it's something where it's just that's a risk, right? Because I don't think that's like picking Ovechkin. He's not gonna sign. Like I don't think Landeskog would sign with Seattle. I think he'd go somewhere else that has a chance of winning. But I think it's a pretty decent one. I would just want to shore this up right here. These guys.
Yeah,
that's what I would want to do. Unless you know something I don't.
I don't. But it's something where.
So this is going to be interesting to see how each team does. Now, again, looking at mine as well, like just in terms of, I know our cap hits aren't up here. I'm like 26 million under the cap. I don't know. Your team's probably way closer to the cap than mine, I would assume. But maybe not, because you picked a lot of top heavy guys and then a lot of guys that didn't make shit.
I have 26.6 right now, but that's also saying I don't have Landeskog signed.
Yes. Right. So
he's one that I would need to have signed. Cal Foote I would need to have signed.
Yeah.
And
like Zadorov is the only one that I'd have to sign that would make any money, right?
Dredger,
yeah, and he'd probably only make 3 or 4, which is exactly what I would want in a goalie. And it's the reason why I don't want Carey Price. I want my goalie to make $4 million, because you don't need to pay him 10 anymore. No. You really don't, because they're not worth it. Now, this is what we called the Hursty team, okay? So Hursty's been just blowing my phone up, and I've been trying to explain to him why it makes no sense, okay? All right. This makes no sense. The cap hit on this team is $159 million, but this is who Hursty would take talent-wise.
Bringing it down too as well.
Oh, we took it down. Oh my God! All right, here's Hursty's team: Landeskog. That's yours. Shit. Voracek, Duchesne, Tarasenko, Neil, Kerfoot, Palat, Zucker, Domi, Eberle, Skinner, Rask, Dadonov, Ladd, Nemesnikov, Hagelin, with Subban, Giordano, Gardiner, Strawman, Dehan, DeMello, Shattenkirk, Sekera, Price, Quick, Holtby, and Jones. $159 million. LOL. You're about 70 million over the cap or something.
Like we took out Ovechkin. We took out Ovechkin off his team. We took all
the UFAs
off his team.
So we just kind of said, let's go with the best players. And I'm going to be kind of honest with you. I'd rather have my team.
This team is
I mean, now in all seriousness, we just did this to just to fuck around,
to dink around, yeah.
Just chirp Hursty a little bit. But I'm telling you, man, like you have to look at contracts. It's the biggest part of this draft. It's not just identifying who's good. We know who's good, right? In terms of we know Tarasenko's good.
Yeah.
We know Voracek is good. We know Duchesne is good. But their contracts are going to matter because you're an expansion team. What you have to do is, you want to be competitive now. You don't want to be the Atlanta Thrashers. No. You don't want to be the Predators when they first came in.
The Blue Jackets,
they were so bad for so long, right? And the league doesn't want that. We saw it with Vegas, right? Now, that was a little overkill. I want Seattle to be competitive, but geez, I don't want them to be like incredible. And I don't think they're will be.
But the first year.
Yeah. But that's what all the experts said the first time is like, oh, like, they're going to be dead last. They made the final.
Yeah.
So who knows? It's why you play the games. I always say that. But you can't just take Carey Price at $10.5 million as a 33-year-old aging goalie for the next 5 years with a no movement clause with the regular season that he just had. Look at his stats. The only reason Montreal made the playoffs was because of Jake Allen. Arguably,
when that trade went through or he signed there, I said that was probably the best thing.
100%, because they haven't had a backup goalie in ever, right?
Who like?
It was Halak and Price. That was the last time they've had a legitimate backup.
Peter Budaj,
Tokarski. They haven't had anybody. Honestly, they haven't had Al Montoya.
Oh God,
they haven't had anybody. So I understand why they didn't protect Price, because I don't think there's a shot in hell that Seattle takes him. And for everybody saying, oh, they're going to take him and flip him. How? He's got a no movement clause.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to trade him back to the Canadians. Like,
why?
What? Why would they even expose him then? What the hell are we talking about? So they didn't want to lose Allen. They know Seattle is not taking him. If we went in and did an expansion draft with taking Carey Price, your team is going to be horrendous.
Yep.
And you're stuck with him now for the next 5 years because no one's trading for him.
You're gonna have
or you're going to have to buy him out because he's not going to get any better. He's 33 going on 34. Okay. He had a really good playoff.
If you buy him out, though, you're still paying them $5 million over
10 years.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You want healthy contracts. You want age. I mean, like I said, the oldest guy I had was 35, but he's UFA next year and he makes 1.5. It's not a risk. I can get rid of him if I want. I can re-sign him for a year. You have flexibility. You can't, as an expansion team, go in and, I mean, if you look at the Vegas Golden Knights now, they have zero flexibility. They've worked themselves right into a corner.
Well, yeah.
Where if they don't win in the next few years, they're boned.
It's
like
bringing in what's his dick there from Pietrangelo,
Pacioretty. Like they have guys that are making a lot of money, and Fleury even. And now you're up against the cap, and you don't really have an opportunity to move people around, right? So I'm just interested. I want to see who is the William Karlsson, who's the Jonathan Marchessault. Like, I mean, there wasn't really like a young 30 goal scorer that was just sitting out there waiting to get picked. Who's going to be, the guy that surprises you? Who turns into Shea Theodore? I think it's all really, really interesting. There's going to be a ton of these that come out. I'm surprised that me and you had the similarities that we did.
Yeah, that's the one thing that really surprised me. Like, I know I said it like couple minutes ago. It's how we went totally different directions, but a lot of similarities
And so I think that's going to probably wrap it up because, I mean, that was a lot of fun to do.
It was real fun. And the expansion draft is Wednesday night?
Yeah. And we'll see. I mean, I wonder how it's going to shake out. And it depends if they want to go with a ton of cap flexibility and be really bad, or if they want to be competitive and build somewhere, or if they want to just go for it like this clown, right? And just go swinging for the fence. The only thing I'd change is Landeskog. There's no way he's getting picked.
Then I switch it for the Comfer.
Yeah, and you still have a really good team, right? So
also, I know we mentioned at the beginning, do they have a minor league, an AHL?
Charlotte Checkers, okay.
And they're going to have a new team in
Palm Springs. Okay.
Why would you California? There's got to be Northern California.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
I'll click it. Palm Desert. That's probably
no, that's
that's at the south. Huh? I don't know.
Whatever.
I mean, that's probably what they got, right?
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun. It's no surprise. I mean, it's no secret that me and Brian love the draft and trades and stuff like that. Free agency,
a lot of player movement.
Yeah. Now, if we wanted to do like draft coverage, that ain't gonna happen because I'm getting married on Saturday and first round's on Friday. It's not gonna happen. No. I mean, eventually, we'll break the draft. And maybe I'll let Bobo do a solo. I'm gonna be on my honeymoon, so you do a solo, break down the draft if you want.
Yeah,
you can do that.
I might look at it, see a few things there, and
again, I'm gonna tease that we have a really fun one, draft related, but not entry draft related, that we're gonna do, and it's gonna be live on the pod.
So fun.
It's gonna be, dude. It's gonna be a ton of fun. It might be a long episode, but it's gonna be a lot of fun. I don't even want to tease anymore because let's just say, be a lot of fun. We're
rewriting history.
Not even. We've already done that. We kind of did that with the other drafts, but it's what if. It's a what if. Okay. So until next time, it's Buschy and Bobo sign off. Go and check out our website, healthyscratch.ca, Facebook and Twitter. Brian, you got any parting words for the guys?
Next time you see this guy, he's going to be married. Next time we talk together, he'll be married.
Mr. Kyle Busch. It's got a good ring to it. All right, guys, take care. See you soon.